Thank you for tuning in and checking out another episode of Unlucky, a memoir. My name is Kat. Everyone has a story. This one just happens to be mine. So Thanksgiving just passed, and I truly am grateful. I was actually invited to many different places this Thanksgiving, whereas I joked with someone years earlier, people would just tell me they weren't having anything, so I wouldn't show up. I'm grateful to have become the person in the day where people want me around and would like for me to show up. And I got to go and hang out at Advocates for Recovery for their Thanksgiving Day event and go see some of my former coworkers and colleagues and hang out and enjoy the company of people I didn't even know. There's some people there that I'd never met before. That it was a good day. It was a really good day. And then I came back to the program, that the house that I run, and they were having a nice Thanksgiving together, which I was grateful for that they had the opportunity to have a little community and connection with each other, and they cooked for each other, and it was a good day. I also got to go to family's house this year. Last year I was invited, but I got sick and just decided to, I think I was laid up for the whole weekend last year. Yeah. But this year I got to go hang out, and it was nice. It was nice to have family around and to be a part of that. The one thing I've come to realize is the lie I used to tell myself, is that I was only hurting myself. And I think that's a lie a lot of people tell themselves. I've come to realize that I made a lot of poor decisions throughout my life that not only affected me, they affected the ones around me, and unfortunately it was the ones that I cared about the most. The shrapnel hit them specifically, and it cost me the relationship with my father, with one of my brothers, and almost another brother. It cost me the relationship with my son, and a woman I cared deeply about, who's now my ex-wife. I still remember I was in recovery at the time. I had just gotten out of incarceration and trying to get my feet back underneath me and figure things out. And I was attending 12-step meetings. I was staying at a friend's house. I was renting a room from a friend of mine and his father, and started having a discussion with somebody I went to school with. And when we were in school, we were friend adjacent, I guess you'd say. We had friends that were a lot of friends in common, but we never hung out. And I still remember I posted a cover song of Here Comes the Sun by Nina Simone. And she had commented that that was one of her favorite songs. And that's my favorite Beatles song, and that's definitely one of my favorite covers of that song. But needless to say, we went out on a date, and then we started dating and seeing each other. And things progressed pretty quickly. And within a few years, I had asked her to marry me. And I still remember the night when I went to ask her. We had always talked about a fireplace and hanging out by a fireplace, which is ironic since the last two videos were in front of the fire pit here at the house. I went and got her a ring, a white gold engagement ring. and took her out to a place back home called the Promenade. It's a little mall, but they have a pretty big gazebo type thing in the middle with a really beautiful fireplace. And we were walking that night, and we walked by a jewelry store in the Promenade. And I remember we were looking in at the jewelry, and she made a comment about how much she dislikes white gold. I think I would have known that. I didn't. And I remember the spiteful part of me was like, F this, I'm not even doing it now. But we continued walking around. It was a cold night. It was really close to, it was right around this time of year. Um, and we went and we were standing in front of the fireplace. And I remember getting down on one knee, and she turned around and I proposed to her, and she said yes. But it's funny that how that night went. And the smart man that I am, I made the decision to. We got married a few weeks later, and our anniversary date was 12, 13, 14. Because, I wasn't going to forget that. Regardless, along the time while we were married, I got injured at work and was out of work for quite a while. And such an amazing woman. She picked up the slack and helped cover the bills. And it wasn't that, I mean, I'm truly grateful for that time. And it pains me even more that I let that slip away. Or, like I say about everything, I just gave that away because she truly loved and cared about me more than anybody else that I was ever been in a relationship with. And unfortunately, like I also discussed earlier in these videos, is because of the trauma I had as a child with my mother leaving and other things, I felt unworthy of love. And I always pushed the limits to test those boundaries to try to get you to prove how much you loved me so that I could push it to a point where I could finally say, see, you didn't really love me. And unfortunately, I did that with this. It was years after we had gotten married, but because of that work injury, I was prescribed pain medication, which ultimately led to return to use. And it deteriorated to the point where once I was back in use and felt useless, I slowly started isolating myself from people. And I attempted a detox in the middle there, and that didn't really work. I returned to use pretty quickly after I got out of there. I'll get more into that story. Maybe I'll bring that up next video. But not long after that, within a year or so, I ended up getting into a motorcycle accident and totaling my bike. I was T-boned while somebody came the wrong way at a one-way intersection, T-boned me and put me down, which I was pretty well banged up and injured from that too. I still remember going down on that bike and just like everything was in slow motion. But again, pain meds returned to use. And at this point, I holed up in my house for probably a year. We'd go into the bathroom to smoke cigarettes because we weren't supposed to smoke in the apartment. And I didn't even want to go outside because I didn't want to see people. I remember I had a shrink at the time, a therapist, and it was an amazing opportunity for me, and I really did enjoy the therapy. But unfortunately, I'd have to get in the car, and my wife would drive me to those appointments, and I'd be completely frazzled and undone by the time we got to the office because the anxiety level of being in a vehicle that I wasn't in control of. Um, it unspun me, and then I'd go up to therapy, and an hour later come down feeling amazing, but then I'd have to get back in the car to go home. So I stopped those sessions. But I remember the one thing I asked him, I go, am I agoraphobic? Because I didn't want to go out of the house. I didn't want to go around people. And I remember he asked me, he goes, are you scared of people? And I said, no, I just don't like them. And that's when he explained, he goes, that's not agoraphobia, that's misanthropy. It's a dislike of people. And I realized what it was. I didn't want sympathy from people. I didn't want people to tell me how badly they felt for me because of the situation I was in. I just didn't want to deal with the situation anymore. But I had no problem going to the drug dealers and those people because those people understood me. They got me, right? So it got to the point where I was no longer sleeping in bed with my wife. I would sleep on the couch. I'd stay in the other room. I didn't even want to be around her anymore. It wasn't her, it was me. I didn't want to deal with me. And unfortunately, part of those bad decisions and poor choices that I had made throughout my life were not dealing with my life, not dealing with the things in here. And that just bled all over everyone else. And it cost me some really good things in my life that I just freely handed over to my addiction. That's why today I go head on when things are going on in my life. I cut out the negatives and I embrace the positives. And gratitude is a huge, huge part of that, right? Every day I wake up and remember, like, I woke up inside today. And today, especially, as you might have noticed in the video, it is snowing. And it's been a long time, I guess, since we've had snow here in Colorado. I haven't really paid much attention, but it's we're getting a little snow today. But I still had to make the video. But I'm grateful that I was inside today. I have the warmth, that I have the option to come outside and then go back inside and get warm. There's a lot of people today that do not have that opportunity. And that's why I discussed those organizations that helped me along the way in the last video. And again, if you go to that last video and you look up any of those organizations, a bunch of them are nonprofits. If you would like, please find them on their social media pages. Advocates for Recovery, Denver Rescue Mission, Flatirons Community Church, and donate. They're all good causes. They help a lot of people. They help people stay warm. They help people stay fed. They help people find faith. And without the organizations I talked about in the last video, I wouldn't be here today. And I say this all the time. I'm only here today because somebody helped me. With that, I'm grateful for each and every one of you for watching these videos, coming along on this journey with me. And I'll catch you all next week.